ahead, Pat.
Fancy fade.
This is so janky. I love this.
I had one of our listeners tell me the fade was really good last week.
You did it, Pat. You did it. It's GloucesterCast 347. We have a packed house today.
Oh boy.
And it's 95 degrees in the office.
Yeah.
And the live feed is on. We have any viewers? Pat, Kim, you can speak. We have 4 viewers. Okay. All right. So we have. So if anybody, if you're listening to this,
it just went down to 1.
that's okay. So we are simultaneously on the Good Morning Gloucester Facebook feed. We're recording this live.
Right.
So you're going to see people's reactions if you go to the Facebook feed. Otherwise, you're listening to the audio here of our podcast. We have, we're excited today. We have Carlo and Danielle from Yella on the Water in Gloucester, new restaurant that everyone's raving about.
Yeah.
Judi Van Loon, Dave Hussey, is going to speak about his book, their book, A Draftee's Journey from Fisherman to Combat Soldier. People that have been long-time people that have followed Good Morning Gloucester know Hussey as former partner with Tuffy. They owned the boat together and fished together for years.
Oh,
Yeah, and
I love Tuffy.
who doesn't love Tuffy? Peter Seminara, Gloucester's Shellfish Constable, is here. You can say hi.
Good
Hi.
morning.
No, I didn't tell everybody else to say hi, did I?
Yeah.
No.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Bye.
You're gonna
Hi.
hi. Susan Lipset is with us.
Good morning, Gloucester.
Thank you. You didn't say happy birthday. You're supposed to take over for
No, that's
Chris.
no way.
No, you're not taking that, yeah.
No way. Gave
All
us
right.
a weekend off.
I know we don't have Chris, our comic relief
Yeah,
here.
where is Chris today?
He's down the Cape. Pat and Jimmy Dalpiaz are here.
Good morning, Gloucester.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Now it feels right. And Kim Smith is with us.
Good morning, Gloucester.
So we have a lot to talk about today. It's 95 degrees in the office, and we have a fan. So I don't know how the audio is going to be today.
Well, just speak up.
That's the only fan this podcast will ever have.
Oh, I'm not sure that's true, but
She's so mean to me.
She's tough.
She's so mean. So people can, if you're on the live feed on Facebook, you can ask questions, and we'll interject the questions. You can ask the people while we're going on, which is going to be kind of a fun feature.
Well, we already have a viewer.
Okay.
Paula Ryan O'Brien. Good morning, Gloucester. I'm here.
There you go. Hi, Paula. So Huz, this book are your paintings that you did. How many years after you were in combat?
The last couple years.
But
After I retired from fishing.
So 71, you were in combat though, right?
In 69 and 70.
And what was what made you? What was the impetus to publish this book? And tell me what it is.
So it was me that wanted to publish the book.
And you're the wife.
Yes, I am. I just felt as though the illustrations and the short stories showed emotion of war. People, you hear stories, but you don't have the emotion.
Go back and tell Dave.
Did you go with
Tell Dave. Tell about Dave. Hussey. Tell what this book is. That for people that don't know him.
So, do you want to just tell about yourself?
Well, it all started when I retired last year. I needed something to do, so I took up painting, and I started doing buoys. And then Judi told me one day down in Florida, she said, "You ought to try flat paint. Do some of your memoirs. Do some for me that maybe I can help relate to your experiences in combat." Over the years, I've had anger management issues. The VA's really helped me out. So I did these pictures mostly for my wife. I wrote little stories down so she could better understand some of my problem, my sleep apnea, my nightmares. She's gone through my alcoholism. She's really been my right-hand man to help me through this. And this is for a lot of guys that have post-traumatic stress, Afghan, Iran veterans, and they come home and they don't talk about it. It's an old World War II, I guess, World War I, that, they don't talk about it, they just go back to work, but affects every one of them, no matter if they're in combat or in the rear. So it's a book for them.
You were defined with shell shock. It was not PTSD. They didn't understand it. Even when he came back from Vietnam, nobody understood it.
Right.
And so there wasn't treatment for it. So the only outlet he had was myself and Tuffy, really.
Yeah.
With Tuffy out in the boat and myself, and we listened to his stories.
Because you were partners with. So you were a lobsterman before you went to war.
Yeah.
And you. So there was the draft. We haven't had a draft in how long?
Since
Since
Vietnam.
Since Vietnam.
Since Vietnam.
Since
I
Vietnam.
think we stopped the draft.
You stopped the draft.
Yeah, because you can't train a soldier in 16 to 17 weeks and send him 12,000 miles away to fight the best soldier in the world without problems, mental problems, lots of them. And there's drugs involved, and it gets deep, and they were never taken care of like they are now.
Mm.
So this is a follow-up. But mainly, there's a lot of women that would like to read this to help them maybe communicate with their husbands that are coming home.
Mm.
That's that idea.
Yeah.
It's a help manual.
But the illustrations, paintings, and each one of them has a story. Kim, can you just put in front of the screen there so people can see, just a couple ideas of what?
They were first, the reason why I did the book was we got so much feedback when you printed some of his stories and pictures.
Yeah.
Was that a couple of years ago?
It was a couple of years ago that there was there was like a culmination. Someone came in here and they were doing a show.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Ken-
right, the show was all of former vets that had that created art, and you had been sending. Hussey had been sending me these
Yes.
the
And you
stories,
put them up on-
and we put them on. We did a series on the blog, and people were, and I'm like, this is, you have to have Dave, you have to have Huzz in this show because this is exactly what you guys wanted to do. So so did you get a tremendous response from
Yes.
that show?
Yes, it was wonderful.
Oh, yeah. That got us going, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He actually did quite a few more illustrations after the show. He's been actually painting for a few years.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was wondering if you were still painting.
Yeah, he kept it up.
Yeah, and he still has quite a few.
I'm trying to learn.
And his mother
It's
was
an
an artist.
evolving thing.
She was a
Yeah.
very good artist in town. Everybody knew Chloe. She used to give art lessons.
Oh wow.
Yes, so he has it in his blood. The
Maybe,
art.
yeah.
So this is cathartic for you as well, I imagine.
It's helped me immensely.
Yeah. And
I
this
mean, a
would
couple
help.
of my drawings that came out to reality, what really happened. It wasn't a dream. It really happened.
We have a few listener comments. Paula says, I remember when Joey posted those photos. And also...
To speak up.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And then Suz Mary DeCorliss is chiming in as well. Okay.
Great. Yeah. They're the way it's written and it depicted in the photos, it really brings you. The way you wrote it, it really was it a forward? Let me read because I think
I took his stories.
you took his stories,
Yes.
but it really. I wanted to see the line that you
He's
wrote.
telling the story.
The vivid detail puts you in the boots of the veteran, and I really think that really sums it up.
Yeah.
And this is from Tuffy. This Tuffy had. Do you call that a forward? What do you call that? In the beginning of the book.
Introduction.
Introduction?
Yeah.
Is that what you call it? So from Michael Tufts, our friend Tuffy, David Hussey Huzz and I started fishing together in the early 70s. I was 16 and he was 30, and he had just gotten back from spending a year in the jungles of Vietnam as a staff sergeant. I've known these stories for years. They would be shared on long days out at sea over the 35 years we were partners. Back then, there wasn't as much awareness about PTSD or therapy available for people leaving war, and I was glad to listen. There are so many brutalities of war that most of us will be lucky enough to never know. For soldiers, these memories can constantly loop in their minds, sometimes for the rest of their lives. These are David Hussey's. It's pretty powerful.
It is pretty powerful.
Yeah,
It is.
it really is. So the book is published and it's available on Amazon. We're going to have the link
Yeah.
where you could buy it
All right, great.
and it's a separate post as well
Right.
with.
Well, I did everything myself. I published it, I did the cover, we did the format, everything ourselves. And I made sure we used quality paper, cover. I went not to make money, but just to put it out
Put it
there.
out
Right,
there.
right.
To share with other people.
Do
You
you,
know-
guys, do you guys have a website too?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
Okay.
I left my email address on there.
Yeah,
What
I'll,
is it
I'm gonna,
called?
I'm gonna create a website for you,
All right.
and it'll have, it'll be very simple.
Yeah.
But what it's gonna be is it'll be this picture, it'll be the title on the top of the page, and it'll have the book and where you can buy and a link so people can
All right.
directly purchase it.
Well, that'd
And
be great.
And contact
Okay,
information
yeah.
if you want. I mean, that it won't take me long to make that, but I'll make that for you.
And also
Well,
a
thank
Facebook
you.
page would be super helpful. I mean, there's so many people on Facebook.
Yeah, but something,
Yeah.
a landing page. They need to. You need to
They
have a
need a
landing
landing
page.
page.
I'll make
All
that.
right.
I'll make that
Yeah.
for you. Okay.
So I just had this, I saw this, and it said, don't be afraid to share your story. It could be the key that unlocks someone else's prison. And I thought that was pretty powerful, and yes, and
Yeah.
it goes with the emotion of the book.
I agree with you.
He's actually had a fellow from Nahant that you hadn't seen in how long, Smitty. He was
Well,
over-
50 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I called him up and I sent him a book because I heard he was getting sick. I don't know, he's sick from some of the stuff with little season.
Agent Orange.
We're gonna lose him, but he said, when I went over there, he was already assigned to this company, this Echo company. And I got into Alpha Company, and he was there just 2 days left. We grew up like this together. He started crying because he says, I wish you weren't here because it's bad. So he left, and we just saw him, I talked to him. He got the book and he loved it.
So they reconnected.
Reconnected through the book.
Right, through the book, on the phone, and they had a great conversation.
it was wonderful.
Yes,
Oh.
tremendous.
It helped me out immensely.
Yes.
So, the one story that sticks with me that Hussey when he was still fishing, he told me this story, and it was the most powerful story I probably have ever heard, and the most like I could visualize the through his words the horror. So imagine this. Do you want to tell the story? Or you want me to tell the story?
No, you tell
You
us.
tell
You're
it,
good,
you
man.
tell it better.
I don't
You're
know.
the man.
He told it pretty powerful. I mean, it stuck because it was a while ago he told me this story, and I was horrified. I couldn't sleep this night. I couldn't imagine like living through this. I mean, this is so crazy. So I don't know how old he was. How old were you when you were
I got
getting on the
drafted when
plane?
I was 24. I just graduated from college, and I got grabbed right after that.
So 24 years old. He's going to the airport where he's going to get on the plane to go to war. Right? How long had you had trained at that
A
point?
year.
A year.
2 years straight.
So he's getting. So the way that it's set up is there's a chain link fence going straight down the middle. So there's the plane lands, and the people that are coming from war are getting off of the plane. And on the other side of the fence are going towards the plane to go to war. The guys were coming off the plane and running up to the chain link fence, putting their hands in the thing and shaking the fence, screaming at these green young kids, "Don't go! Don't go! Turn around! Don't go! Don't go!" Like that. And these kids are gonna get on the plane, and these guys look like death. And they're gonna get on the how scared could you imagine getting on that plane at that point? Could you imagine getting on the plane at that point?
What a waste of human.
Oh my
life
God.
That was good, Joe.
That was good. And then yeah,
I mean,
right.
can you imagine?
Exactly. And one of his pictures, illustrations that he did, was it showed him in the jungle for the first time. And he said, "You can see me." And he was the only one with a white face because he was so scared. The first time being there,
Yeah.
and seeing that the only white on the whole illustration was his face.
Well,
And the
show 'em the
emotion
picture.
that you get from that is.
If you tell Kim
feel
if
it.
you tell Kim the
What
page
page?
number, she'll.
I don't, there's no page numbers.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah. Oh my God, that's
The only
It is.
experience I had with the draft was I remember in '69 my brother was a part of it, and I remember that we
don't. It's just one.
Is it at the beginning?
Yeah.
when they were rolling the bin and picking out the numbers and how quiet it was when they were putting it up, and we're all staring in
TV?
front of the TV,
Yeah, I remember.
doing all that, and we saw my brother's. My brother's number was like very high, 310 or something. It was way up there. But our next door neighbor that we used to take on vacation all the time and go everywhere with us, he was number 10. And I remember everyone just running outside the door, running to the neighbor, eating halfway, and they were all crying.
Oh, wow, that story.
Yeah.
1969. it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Is there-
That's what I
Yeah,
remember.
I remember
Are there-
reader
Are there any questions? Yeah.
We've got a reader comment from Robin Scalera. This book sounds like a must-read. Thank you for sharing your stories. And then Paula Ryan O'Brien says, massive respect to these veterans. Massive.
Yeah. So there'll be a link in the show notes for the podcast on how you can buy the book directly. So
Okay.
who was the person that said
That was Paula.
no, that must read.
Must read, that's Robin. Robin Scalera.
All right, Robin. We'll make sure
I brought
you
this
get a
for
link.
you, and that's called a combat infantry badge, and that can only be earned by a infantry, 11 Bravo Army. And if you see generals on the TV with all their medals, you'll see that medal that won the highest. And you have to be in so many hours in sustained combat to earn this medal.
In hell.
And that's for you.
It's the highest
Oh,
level.
thank you, Huss.
Yeah,
Jeez, that means a lot.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Jeez.
Beautiful.
That is gorgeous.
yeah, I just felt as though there were compelling stories that should not be forgotten.
Yeah.
And they had to be shared.
Well, now
And
they're
clearly
here.
And
that's
that was my
coming,
whole
yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Now they're
You did a
here
good
for all
job with it.
posterity.
And those
But I just
and that
don't
must have really
follow-
brought you guys. I mean, you guys have always had a wonderful relationship anyway. But working on this
22
book,
years.
working on this book together.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
What
yes.
what a journey.
Yeah.
It's been emotional.
Yeah.
After the book came out,
Yeah.
it was emotional.
I even cried a couple of times.
David cried because
It's
when
good
we
fun.
got to, we sat and read it together to see the format and just.
I love the
'cause
font.
wanted
I
to-
love the big, large font, and
Yeah.
you
Well-
can really read. I mean, older people. I mean, my eyesight is terrible, and I can read it without my readers.
Well, the reason that came about is because I wanted to make sure the illustration went right to the edge of the page. So there's no border. I didn't want it any smaller.
Yeah.
So in doing that, they did the font the same way. So some pages are smaller. and some
Yeah.
pages are larger.
That's great.
But when we came to Pickles, which was a very good friend of David's, and he died in Vietnam, and David became very emotional because he said, "I told you you would never be forgotten." So it was
So yeah,
emotional.
yeah.
Well, I
they-
never knew his real name. When he went to the rear, he only had like a week, 2 weeks left in country. And they'd send him to the rear so you could hide underground. So a lucky shot didn't take him out. And he came out to the back to the bush. He says, "I can't stand the lifers. I'm going to kill one of them. I'm going to G-Rose from the bush." And 2 days later, he got shot in an ambush
Oh.
and killed.
And he only had a couple days left.
And then Judi found his name. I was at the company that was related. His last name was Dill.
And that's why they called him
And I
Pickles.
always thought him as Spanish from East LA for 50 years.
Wow.
And then I really found out who he was.
Oh.
And that meant a lot to me.
Did you reach out to the family?
No.
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 Well, you figure David's, I don't know, what's
Yeah,
to
I'm
tell his age,
75
but
now.
75,
You're in pretty good shape for
But I'll
75.
tell you,
Yeah, I
from
know.
Agent Orange, when he was talking to his friend the other day, Smitty, he keeps in touch with all the Echo company that he was with. He said, "Dave, they're dying. They're dying from Agent Orange." He said, and they're all in their early 70s.
And we have a big suicide problem.
Yeah.
We have 20 veterans.
But the Agent Orange is killing these guys every day.
Monsanto.
So.
Yeah, it's terrible. Any other comments, Kim?
No.
Okay.
That's good.
All right.
We don't want to
Thank
take
you.
up all the
Well,
time.
thank you guys for coming in. I
Yeah.
really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Do you want to
Thank
stick
you,
around for the
patience.
rest? Or
Sure.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Thanks
love
for your
to-
service, Huz. Thank you guys for
please.
coming.
Thanks for your
I love my country, and I do it again.
As two
Oh,
members right here, we want to thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
We're proud of you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Peter
You
Seminara.
made my day.
Atta boy. Peter Seminara is up next. He is the Gloucester Mass Shellfish Constable.
Yes.
And this, right now, we're still in a, what do we call it? Red tide
Red
situation?
tide, parallel shellfish poison closure. It's been ongoing in Essex Bay since the 18th of June, and Gloucester closed the Annisquam River the 20th of June. So,
Oh, that's a lot. Is
so
that
all shellfish.
Can you explain what red tide is as it pertains to our area?
In our area, it's a bloom of a dinoflagellate algae called Alexandrium, and it occurs offshore and then gets carried in with coastal storms. You get a lot of easterlies, carries it towards shore, and when the water quality conditions are right, it blooms basically, and it contains a poison called saxitoxin, which is paralytic to affects neurotransmitters. I don't know the exact science behind it, but what happens is, as bivalve shellfish filter feed, they take in this dinoflagellate, and they're able to concentrate the poison in their meat, making it unsafe for consumption.
It's serious. It's serious business.
Serious.
Yeah.
Serious business.
It
And
can
like
be.
people think like, oh, that's all right. And I'm just gonna dig a few clams, for dinner, and it's not gonna be a problem. It can be a real problem.
And it's a true-fault problem. It can make healthy adults severely ill. It can be fatal to children, the elderly, anybody with a compromised immune system. And if it gets out, and people say, oh, I got sick from clams from Gloucester, it can have a long-term effect on our commercial fishery, which is the second issue.
So here's the thing. Safathia had shared. It was last week. This is why he's here. So she shared that there's a shellfish ban because the red tide. Don't eat shellfish. Until everything gets fixed or whatever. It straightens out. And I said, please make sure people know that lobster, in this case, lobster is not the shellfish that is affected by. Lobsters are not affected by red tide. Lobsters are perfectly safe to eat.
Right, they're a
Yeah.
crustacean.
And I'll say it,
People
lobsters are
kinda
perfectly safe to eat. It only affects bivalve shellfish. It only
So-
affects
so-
soft shell clams,
Yeah.
surf clams, razor clams, oysters, blue mussels, ocean quahogs, and what is called carnivorous snails, which would be moon snails, conch.
Oh, really?
Scallops are fine, right?
So what about conch from where outside of the harbor?
This is more coastal.
Okay.
It's more coastal.
And what about periwinkles?
Periwinkles are a gray area. I'm working with the Division of Marine Fisheries. I advise against taking periwinkles.
Okay.
We do get periwinklers.
Yeah, no, I know. The
People
Italians,
coming
they're
down
right around
the
Fiesta.
Periwinkles off the Stone Pier, Wingasheet Beach, Pavilion Beach. Personally, I would advise against eating them till this is clear.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and Susan asked, what about scallops?
Scallops are not affected.
Is that because they're...
We only eat the adductor muscle on scallop. So what it does is it concentrates in the body meat, in the bellies. That's why steamers are unsafe unless
Unless you eat the bellies.
Right, you eat the bellies.
you eat the
right?
bellies. Surf clams, it's in, they'll cut them up for chowder or whatever, and it's in the bellies, in the foot, in all the musculature. But with scallops, with sea scallops, we only harvest the adductor muscle. So that's unaffected. So when we get our closure, we get a closure notice from the Division of Marine Fisheries. As soon as they close it, they send a letter. They email it to the mayor, to me, and all the other officials of coastal communities that are affected, and all the shellfish constables that state the date of closure and what you can and can't take. And right now, it's all shellfish except for scallop adductor mussels.
So people should know that this is all shellfish and lobsters are a crustacean. So
Yeah.
and so are crabs. So
It doesn't affect lobsters, doesn't affect Jonah crabs. People have asked about green crabs because they do consume sea clams. I don't believe it affects green crabs. I can confirm it with the Division of Marine Fisheries.
What are some of what are some of your duties? What is a normal day for you?
What we have is a memorandum of understanding between the City of Gloucester and the Division of Marine Fisheries that we monitor water quality and maintain, they say, sufficient patrol to prevent illegal harvest. So during this red tide closure, we're expected to have 100% coverage on all closed areas,
that's
which is 7 days a week. In the summertime, 2 tides a day,
wow.
and our department consists of myself and a part-time deputy.
That's a lot of area
That's
to
a
cover,
huge
and especially
area.
the clammers go out like it's dark out. I see, like when I used to come back and forth to Hamilton,
Right.
Essex River, I'd go past the causeway, and
They
that
do.
boat ramp at 4 o'clock in the morning was
It's the same as
busy,
Gloucester.
like
They
crazy
can-
busy, because all those little London aluminum skips, all the clammers were going out when it's still dark in the morning.
They can it's just like option. They can legally harvest from 1/2 hour prior to sunrise to a half hour after
Oh,
sunset.
okay, yeah.
But it's tidal too.
It's tidal. But if they have a 4 in the morning tide,
Yeah.
they're able to go out in the dark if it's a half hour before sunrise and begin harvesting.
So all the shellfish now being sold are like being checked or
Imported. There's no shellfish. What happens when they're harvested from a municipality, we'll use Gloucester for example, when you harvest them, you have to tag them with your name, your permit number, where you took them, what time they left the flat, and that tag stays on until it gets to the dealer, and then the dealer puts a tag on when he received them, and then they remain, and all the tags have to be kept on file for 90 days. So they're able to tell where shellfish was harvested from to the point of consumption.
We don't handle clams here.
No.
Very specific. We made a conscious decision not to because
It's so specific.
there is
There's
so
many
much
regulations.
procedurally that you have to do that. We decided we're going to keep it very simple and
It's
just
the
do
same with
lobsters.
it's the same with the oysters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
all bivalve shellfish are managed by what's called the model ordinance. It's put out by the FDA, I believe, and that is shellfish harvest and handling regulations, and that's a federal regulation that's abided by, like with this red tide closure, the shell fishermen who've been out of work want to know what's going on, but there's a certain protocol the Division of Marine Fisheries needs to follow, I need to follow,
Yeah.
in order to get through this. So
And keep people safe.
exactly, it's a public safety issue.
100%,
It's a public
yeah.
health issue.
Yeah, no, there's a reason for
Right,
it.
especially
There's
in
definitely a reason.
Massachusetts, where we're known for our, fried clams and
Exactly, and what we have is
Yeah.
because Gloucester is considered a high-risk area because of its vastness. So many points that people can get in anywhere and harvest shellfish. We're what's called conditionally approved, means that we're only open when water quality standards meet a certain point.
Right.
So if it rains, we have closures that are enacted.
So it's over too much rain.
Rain
As the
is the number one
Cause,
reason
right.
for closures.
And the Easter runoff.
Because runoff and sewerage.
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
So what is so if someone, so people can, anyone can, when it's open, you can get a recreational permit. And what is a recreational? Are there different levels of permits for the public? Is there a school, like I know for lobstering, for example, you can have a recreational permit and then you can have a student permit, right?
Gloucester issues the recreational clam permit. They issue a commercial clam permit. They do issue a student clam permit. So you can have a commercial student clam permit, just like lobstering, to go clamming in Gloucester. We have usually 2 or 3 of those a year.
And what is it? So what is the different levels allow you to harvest, or how?
All the harvest is the same for a commercial permit. You're allowed to take 200 pounds per tide. And
For a student too?
For a student too. And for a recreational permit, you're allowed to take 15 pounds per day, and you're allowed to utilize the permit 4 times in a calendar week.
15 pounds can feed a lot of people.
Yeah, they can feed a lot. Yeah.
And how much is that recreational permit?
For a resident, it's $50. You can get it any time of year, but it expires June 30th.
Uh-huh.
The commercial permits you can only get in the month of June.
Okay.
Those are $400.
So that's a resident of Gloucester?
That's a resident of Gloucester. A non-resident recreational permit is $200 for the year. But Gloucester also has day permits for $25 a piece that you can get online. So you can apply online for this permit today and say you want to go dig clams on, Wednesday, and just date the permit for that day.
Oh, wow.
And that day the permit is effective.
You print it out?
You can print it out. Usually when we enforce, people have it in their phones.
Yeah. Oh,
And we
okay.
can just check the permit on the phone.
So you can do it that way.
Right now, we have in big red letters that we're closed.
Right.
So it's counterproductive for somebody to get a permit. When it reopens, we want to be able to issue day permits on the beach. If someone's collecting soft shell clams and they don't have a permit and they only have 2 or 3 clams, we really don't want to cite them.
What is the citing when you're saying cite? Is there a fine?
There's a non-criminal citation.
Right.
It averages between $100 to $1,000 per violation, depending on the egregiousness of it. Right now, we're pretty standard because we have a influx of non-permitted harvesters that, without a permit, you don't have the resources to know what's safe and what's not.
Right.
So if you come to Gloucester for the day and you go to, say, Stone Pier, the Jones River's closed due to water quality. It's also closed due to red tide. The sign's posted. There's a number to call. But if you don't have a permit, you don't have the resources. You show up and you go digging, you can harm your family.
Right. That's not good.
It's dangerous.
No bueno. On the Facebook, so for people that aren't following on the Facebook feed, if you have any questions for any of our guests, feel free to ask the question. Type it. When we say ask it, type it on the Facebook feed, and we'll ask the question.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Peter how long he expects this all to last. We talked about it earlier.
Right now, the protocol is they test weekly. They test clams and mussels weekly. We harvest them on Monday. The results are usually on Wednesday evening, and then they advise me of whether the counts have gone down. I don't get specific numbers. They just advise me that the counts have gone down, and it's potentially going to be this long. So this past Wednesday, soft shell clams dropped below the threshold, which is 80 micrograms per 100 grams. I'm not.
Yeah. Whatever happened to be.
So whatever the threshold is, it's below the threshold, and then you need 3 descending counts. So Monday they'll harvest again. I'll get results Wednesday, and if they drop below last Wednesday's, we have 1 more descending count. So right now, the earliest it'll be open to soft shell clam harvest is most likely the 31st of July.
Which would be 2 more weeks.
So I have a question. So when Gloucester is typically
Hold
closed.
on 1 second, Kim.
Okay.
I
Sorry.
really need you to speak louder for the.
Okay. Sorry. So I have a question. When it's closed in Gloucester, is it typically closed in Essex or Ipswich?
The way we do it is I manage all of what's called N9, which is the Division of Marine Fisheries designation for the Anscombe River,
Okay.
and N7, which is the Marine Fisheries designation for Essex Bay, and I manage all of the Gloucester portions of Essex Bay. Farm Creek, Maple Lane Creek, Walker Creek, Spalding Creek, Johns Cove, the Spit, they call it. And then the rainfall action levels are managed by Essex. Essex Bay is on a specific rainfall action level, so when the Essex Constable checks his rain gauge in the morning and closes Essex portion of Essex Bay, I close our portion of Essex Bay.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
So people should not be afraid to eat clams in a restaurant.
Right now, no.
No.
They're being imported.
They're being imported.
Well, really, you should feel safe to eat them anytime. Unless it's a non-reputable
If it's in a
restaurant.
restaurant,
But a restaurant, you would think, is going to be smart enough not to, because you can really kill somebody.
Right.
To know.
The paper trail from harvest to consumption is extremely detailed.
Yeah.
So a restaurant has clams, they've been followed.
You can
They
track it
know
right down.
right
Yeah.
where they've come from.
Yeah.
What about the deep water clams? Are they affected?
I'm not sure because I only manage Gloucester. So offshore surf clam fishery, I'm not sure if it affects that or like high shell clam fisheries down in the Cape. Right now, the red tide closure is affecting from the New Hampshire border to about Plymouth, with sporadic pockets on the other Cape
That's amazing.
at the latest.
What's some of the craziest excuse someone has given you on a flat when they have a bucket of clams and they don't have a permit?
Undocumented clams, you mean?
The number one excuse is I didn't know. Didn't know I needed a permit.
Yeah.
The other one is we're just showing people. Just want to show the kids.
Yeah.
But we've been doing this quite a while. We know what's packaged to keep and what it's like to show your children.
Yeah, right.
And we've seen you do it. We didn't just stumble upon you with a bucket of clams.
Yeah.
We've watched you.
You've been watching.
Yeah, they have a clam farm.
A stakeout.
Yeah. So a kid can get a permit. A high school student can get a permit to dig clams. And what are some of the things that they would purchase to be able to dig clams?
They would at least, if they were to dig commercially, they would at least need a rake. You have an ordinance that says the only way you could take shellfish in Gloucester is with a handheld fork.
Oh,
Handheld time fork. If you're a professional, you're using a fork. It's the most efficient way to do it. It's the least impact.
right.
You'll need a gauge, obviously. You're allowed 5% under 2 inches for every batch, which is the legal limit. Softshell clams is 2 inches.
Are soft shell clams, you mean steamers?
Steamers.
How do they measure them?
I left my gauge in my car, but it's basically a ring with 2 inch
Okay.
diameter, and if it passes through the ring, it's
Oh.
undersized.
Good.
People have mistaken them for handcuffs. I don't carry it.
Not yet.
Yeah. Where's considered? Are there any areas in Gloucester that are considered better quality clams? Do they do better in colder water areas than warmer?
I'm not a clammer,
Uh-huh.
so there's places that get seeded in very well. There's other places that usually the protocol is these guys will target places that are open, that may be under a long-term closure, like let's say Essex Bay.
Yeah.
Kind of unwritten. Go to Essex Bay, even if the Annisquam's open, because if Essex Bay closes to rain, it's going to be a 5-day closure across the board at a half inch, 6/10 of an inch of rain. So then they'll concentrate on Annisquam River.
Yeah.
It's the same as lobstering. It's a lot of self-policing.
Right.
There's a lot of tradition.
Mm.
The older guys who've been doing it long term, are helpful to the young guys, newcomers, because it's beneficial to teach a guy how to dig without breaking clams, or how to get the most clams every time you turn the ground over, versus just letting somebody go willy-nilly and then they get a lot of broken clams.
Yeah.
So there's guys that will school
Yeah.
newcomers, and seems to be, we have 76 commercial permits that issue. About 45 of those are full-time.
It's a hard
Industry.
living.
It's extremely difficult.
It's really
Extremely
difficult.
difficult.
Like
really
out in the cold, when it's cold out and you see them out there digging in the sand flats. I mean, it looks really tough to me.
It's a tough job.
Yeah. These guys. You think lobstering's tough, right? But if you shake hands with a clam digger,
Oh my goodness.
their hands are so calloused. Like there's calluses on top of the calluses. They're savages. I can't even understand how. Like my back hurts, and I'm not bent over the way these guys are bent over. They're like, I don't know how these older clam diggers can do it at their. I really don't understand how you could be bent over and
Yeah, it's so labor
It's
intensive.
work, man. It is crazy work.
And then you go like, oh well, they're kind of expensive, but then you're like, wow, it really took a ways to get that way. Took a lot to get that.
Pete, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Great segment.
Right.
Next we're gonna
I feel
talk to
so safe.
next we're gonna talk to Danielle and Carlo from Yella.
From
I'm
Yella's.
Kim's gonna take care of this segment.
And are we going to keep going live?
Yeah, we're going live. We're gonna speak to him right now.
Okay.
I'll be right back. I have a boat here. I have to take care of my customer.
Don't trip,
Okay.
Joey.
Yeah.
All right.
No, he doesn't have a boat, he just needs a air.
Yeah. Gonna go to his truck and turn on the AC and then.
Well, first of all, congratulations
Thank you.
on your
Yeah,
restaurant. We were there on
congratulations.
opening day, we saw you guys, and we came to the podcast and we talked about it and said how we thought you could have fooled me, it was an opening day. Everybody was moving quite well, there wasn't any of that, someone didn't know or whatever. It was, you could have fooled me, it was opening day. And we, we're looking at it now and it's wonderful, it's just wonderful.
This was very important to us because we see like when new restaurant open. I mean, we had restaurant in Andover. It's been 10 years, and my first day was crazy, like you said. Actually, first couple days. So we learned a lot through the years. And
Yeah. So you guys have a very successful restaurant in Andover.
Yeah.
And what's the name of that restaurant?
Yella.
Yella also.
What does that mean?
Yalla mean, come on, let's go.
Oh.
So you can say Yalla, let's go to Yalla.
Yella, let's go to
Very
Yella.
good.
So, and what language is that in?
I'm originally from Lebanon. I'm Lebanese originally.
So we've been once, and we had your fabulous scallops that we were just talking about. But we're also going tonight for our daughter's birthday dinner.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So, but what we loved about it was, especially because we have a granddaughter who's just 2, and we were sitting out on the deck, and she could just, she was moving around, and she was having a lot of fun, and she was very relaxed. So this is wonderfully elegant food, but in a very relaxed setting. And it was really, it looks spectacular, but elegant in a chic setting, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Wow.
You guys have done an outstanding job. I mean, they're in the location of the former Morning Glories. And that was a, very charming little breakfast place that we all love to go to, but it's just
We used to
amazing.
go to all of that.
Did you guys used to go
Yeah.
there too? Yeah.
Is that why you took that, you saw that, and you said this would be a good spot? Or, you had told us, we knew, and you can talk about this too, that you were part of that big disaster. You were
Yeah.
from the gas disaster. Why don't
Yeah.
you can talk about that one.
Sure. So we, back in September, I'm sure everybody has heard about the explosions in the Merrimack Valley with Columbia Gas. So,
This is really
life on the docks.
Gas explosion?
Yeah. So we were affected by that, and we were closed for 4.5 months. But we had a lot of support during that time. The governor actually did a press conference from our restaurant in Andover, and he was just a strong and steady advocate for businesses. The town was amazing to us. Our employees were incredible. Everybody stuck with us. We didn't lose one employee. And really our customers just were constantly reaching out to us and just talking about how much Yella meant to them and all the beautiful memories that they've had there over the years and all the things they've celebrated.
It must have helped keep you
It
keep your
did.
spirits up.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
While that was going on, you were working on
Yes.
opening here, right? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah. that
Yeah,
was-
so we were while all that was going on, we were working on construction here
Oh
and
my
permitting
gosh.
and doing all of that. So it was a lot. It's been a long
Is there a lot
month.
of damage to your restaurant?
I mean, we had fire in the kitchen, so they had to do all the kitchen.
Gas, yeah.
We had to change
You had a
all-
northeaster.
Yeah, we had to change all
Storm.
equipment, even like the air system, the hood itself, everything.
Was it a storm or was it just?
No,
It
it
was
was
comparing it to commercial fishing.
Yeah, like losing your boat.
Oh,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it's nor'easter, yeah.
So it's a beautiful setting in the new location. How many seats are there? Couldn't believe how many tables there were. And then,
Yeah, you did really right around the corner.
Yeah.
It's great.
It was.
We have with inside and outside we have almost 90 seats.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, it's just beautiful.
And you do have spots at the bar. People
Yeah.
can sit at the bar
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So
is it a
I
full
didn't
bar?
see that. I didn't
Yeah.
see that.
It's a full bar, yep, and we really focus on our craft spirits program. Every single spirit on our list was hand selected for quality, and we juice everything from scratch. So any of the cocktails that you get in house are going to be
Oh,
with
that's wonderful. That's great to
fresh
know.
juice, and we make everything from scratch. Even the
Anyways,
ketchup.
right.
Oh,
ketchup
yes,
too?
everything,
Oh,
every
These
single thing.
Family recipes or these are yours?
My
Nice.
yeah, sometimes my mom come visit. We did that before in Yella and Andover. We do like competition. She come to the kitchen. She will do like throw.
like a throwdown.
Bob
Yeah.
Flay style.
I can see her coming up to the table.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. Mine's better.
Yeah, we give every customer as you order this dish like 2 little plates, and we give them like papers. They choose like which one does well.
Are you're gonna have a
There you
throwdown in Gloucester?
So why did you choose that area? Why did you choose?
So I grew up spending my summers in Gloucester, and I love it here. It's just a really beautiful, beautiful place. All my best memories growing up are here. We got married here.
Oh, you did.
Nice.
Where did you guys get married?
So my dad has a house on Winder Chic, and so we were up there. We actually cooked the food for our own wedding.
Oh my goodness.
We were opening our other restaurant in Andover at the same time, and so we were trying to just do things as cost effectively as possible so that we could afford to open another restaurant. And so I think I'm the only bride the week of. But
Most important. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, before you get dressed, come like next to
I was going to say. So, how did you feel about the Horribles parade? How was that when you looked at that? How was?
I mean, it was nice just seeing all these people, but
yeah, I mean, it was the perfect spot for it.
yeah.
Oh.
It's been very hot in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You can see my voice now.
Yeah.
So do people come just in off the parade and come in and sit down for dinner?
Yeah, I mean, it was the perfect viewing spot for the parade and for the fireworks and for everything that's been going on over the past
But you know
few
what?
weeks.
With all these people, we've been just like busy every day.
Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. It is. Every time I go by, there's
like
people out on the
Monday,
deck.
Monday to Sunday, just like
That's
gonna-
wonderful.
I'm going to reserve for the fireworks of Schooner Fest.
There you go. There you go.
So you take reservations?
We do take reservations, yeah. We take them through Resi online. We also take them by phone. Our phone number is 978-491-5334.
And you also have a website.
We also have a website.
And
It's
Facebook.
yellagirl.com and our Facebook page as well. Yeah.
So Joey he'll put the links into the restaurant there.
Name a couple of specials that you have.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're working with the local fishermen, which we absolutely love, and we really try to highlight our local partnerships, and we're working with some local farms as well. And so we try to use seasonal produce when it's available, where it's really just kind of a globally inspired menu, but using, fresh local seasonal ingredients. So there's things like we have the scallops, which we are getting literally right in front of the restaurant almost. People are out there getting them for us, and we get them from Inner Shell. And then they also will text us in the morning whatever they're catching. So we're constantly having different seafood specials
So you can plan it on
based on
with
what's
abundant.
being caught out there.
Nice.
I know that you had a variety of fish tacos,
Yeah.
and it was hard to pick, and I loved the fourth choice was it was either 1, 2, 3, or 3 of the other one, or something like that. It was great. I couldn't do it.
Oh, so I'm back. What did I miss? I missed all the good Yella stuff. So I have to say, a couple Yella stories. So far, I've only been once. Chris McCarthy's been at least 7 times, maybe 8 times. But every person I talk to has said,
Oh, the food.
every person. There's
Right.
not one detracting thing that I have heard. Susan wants the. Susan, you said you wanted the hours. You just
I
wanted
really
you.
wish it was possible to find your days that you're open and closed and your hours somewhere on the internet. Because I have looked and looked, and my son who's in his 20s, who can really do that stuff, has looked and looked to the point where we've been there twice when it's been closed.
So we're only
She
closed
wants
right now
to-
on Tuesdays.
Yeah, but show me where I can
Yeah,
find
no.
that online. And my wedding anniversary was last week, so I said, well, let's try Yella. And my husband said, well, don't you want to go, out of town somewhere? I said, no, everyone says it's good. So my son, who knows how to do this stuff, made a reservation on Resi for Tuesday night, and it took it. And it kept sending us reminders that we were going to Yella that night. And in 30 minutes, we needed to be at Yella. So I said, well, we'll go over there. Doors are locked, but Resi's still sending us notifications.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they sent us a notification to please rate our experience at Yella.
Yeah.
It's closed.
It's computer. So
Yeah.
we just disabled that for Tuesday.
Okay.
We've been in construction for like 4 months.
No, I understand that you're a new place,
No, I'm
but
just
I wanted to
telling you.
make you aware that
Yeah,
it
yeah.
takes reservations for
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
that
So
go
they
closed.
just got to the.
I'm glad to
they
hear that because
figured
we
it
Yeah,
went
yeah.
twice and never.
So
It's
You're
never
dying
been
to go.
open.
Because you're dying to
So
go.
we've
I
been
don't
open
know.
for 4 weeks. Me and Danielle, we still didn't sit together and talk. I'm leaving the
This
house.
is it, right?
Yeah,
This is
this
right
is
here.
it.
I'm not kidding. Like I'm leaving the house 7:00, getting home like 12. She's getting home by 2.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
and when we
Yeah.
opened, it was like in the middle of the crazy season. So
Fiesta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So
I
it's-
think you can
So
like
it's
get
still,
the hours
so,
up there would
so
be
it's
helpful.
still lots of loose and we still need to do, but we get into like the website.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, the reason why we haven't posted is because things are evolving. Like, we'd really love to be open 7 days a week. And we would
Right.
like to also be open for brunch on Saturdays and Sundays, but we don't
Oh,
But
have
when
enough
you
staff to do
when you
so.
search it on a search engine, it takes you to the Andover webpage that says y'all are closed Sundays. So it's misleading.
Yeah.
If you could maybe just
Yeah.
add the hours for the Gloucester location.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, actually, we're working on redesigning our whole website.
Okay, well that's just maybe a quick thing you could add in the meantime,
Okay.
so people would not go when it's closed.
Yeah, no, but the people that I have spoken to
And we had
have
the
been
most amazing
over the top.
experience. It was
Over the top. I have not heard a response to a new restaurant opening that I have heard about Yella in 10
Oh,
years.
yeah.
I mean, I've heard people say mixed things about every restaurant,
Yes,
and
yes.
which you would expect.
Right.
I have not heard
Right.
one person say anything but rave
Well,
reviews about
The-
this place.
I mean, the food is outstanding, but you know what I
The
especially
decor.
loved the decor. I especially loved that you came over. You didn't know who we were. You just came over and started chatting with us at the table.
Yeah.
And I did, to do that in your 4th week of, I think we were there in your 2nd week of business or whatever. I mean, I just
Yeah.
thought that really,
It's amazing.
I thought that was really special.
I mean, for
I
us,
really
the
do.
most important thing is just to, it's good food and
Yeah.
make people feel
You
like
make
they're
the,
home.
right, you make
Yeah.
people feel
So this
really
is very
welcome,
important
which
for
is,
us.
very
Yeah,
special.
you're hitting, it seems you're hitting
Yeah.
the mark there,
Yeah.
yeah, we felt that.
Yeah.
Felt that.
Yeah,
That
no
was
question.
day
I mean,
one.
for me, my family's Sicilian. My grandmother used to cook for 29 grandchildren every Sunday from a very early age. I always felt like food could make you feel taken care of.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
you
the
guys-
feeling I want people to have when they come. I
You
want
guys
them to
are
just
very
feel
succeeding
really
in
taken
that.
care of.
You
It's-
really succeeded.
It's great. It's just great. Gloucester every
We-
month the
Right.
Gloucester just gets
Yeah, we have something new
rises
exciting
and rises
about
and
it.
rises and rises, and it
Right.
lifts all the boats, right? Susan, you went to the unveiling of the
The sea serpent
sea serpent.
statue at the Cape Ann Museum.
We had an early, so I didn't realize Mark Ring sent us the pictures when that thing was being delivered, and we posted them.
Okay.
What I didn't realize was that was supposed to be under wraps until the official
The
unveiling.
guy who did it, Chris Williams, who's an amazing sculptor,
He is
has been showing his progress for a long time online. He has all these
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
chapters or episodes, if you go to his website, showing him making all the components of the statue. And then he just had a video for delivery day, so we got glimpses.
Yeah.
But the thing is really, really an amazing
It's
piece of art.
amazing.
And we went to the unveiling, and before doing so, we read up a little bit on the lore of the Gloucester sea serpent, which you're probably familiar with, but I read a very interesting kind of scholarly article written in 2012 talking about the sightings of the sea serpent from the 1630s up until the 1960s. And, you know, this was well documented in lots of Gloucester history sources. And they think now that they know what it was. And what they think that was a humpback whale dragging these certain kind of nets that were very long and had casks or barrels attached to them that looked like the bumps on the back of the serpent with a bigger cask for a head. And these whales have been known to drag these nets, poor things, for decades sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And these particular, I think they're called drift nets, were outlawed in the early 1970s, and there have been no more reported sightings
Since then.
of the serpent since the 1960s.
Ah, that's interesting.
After 300 years or more of sightings. So
That's very
it's a
interesting.
beautiful statue. It
Did they
commemorates,
dedicate it to Rhonda Falloon?
Yes, they did.
Okay, Rhonda Falloon,
They did.
outgoing director at Cape Air
Right.
Museum.
It was just an amazing.
So it's not just a piece of art; it's also a piece of our local folklore and history.
And so where did it? Is it placed outdoor?
It's
Outside?
right outside the main entrance to the right.
So you pass by it every time you go
And
in.
he put glass, specially poured glass blocks in the base of the statue, between the rocks, so it will
Kind of
light the
illuminate?
thing up in the dark. It's
It's
amazing.
Some of his other works are in Mark McDonough's restaurants. Remember the big octopus that was over the sushi pit?
Oh, yeah,
That was
this-
one of Chris
oh, yeah.
Williams' works.
I've
You see
seen-
him around town.
I've seen this giant bear that he did, like bears
He
climbing
did one for a
pole.
mall in Canada.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
Bear and, then,
sculpture.
and a huge ram that he did for a university.
Yeah.
It's
So
amazing.
He's really he's really very gifted at capturing natural
Yeah.
creatures and wildlife.
Well, thank you for that report, Pat. You did did a follow up. One of our readers had a question or had some input on a post you had done about the. Why don't you take it away? The URAT.
We had GMG received an email from a visitor wondering about if there was a plaque around commemorating the landing of my grasp of the Norwegian language is non-existent, so I'm gonna probably quite certainly mispronounce it, but URAD, URAED, which was a covered enclosed lifeboat that was built in 1904, sailed across the Atlantic Ocean and arrived in Gloucester in the middle of a storm in January of 1905. And there was a visitor here looking for a plaque that she had heard had been erected to commemorate the occasion. So I went off looking for some information. I've not found a plaque yet. 100 years later, in 2005, there was a commemorative event that was held. It's quite a story, actually, and 4 men got out of this enclosed lifeboat that had sailed across the Atlantic. It took them 5 months, if I'm not mistaken. They were heading for the World's Fair, but didn't quite make it. And one of the men ended up living here in Gloucester from Norway. And I've done a post about it, so it's on the Good Morning Gloucester blog this morning. If anybody's interested.
So in the show
Quite-
notes, I'll link to that
Yeah,
post.
it's a really interesting story. So thank you to the reader who sent along the information. That was a fun.
If anyone else has
research project
questions
for
about,
me.
so Pat loves to do research. She loves the
Yeah, that was
library.
fun.
If you haven't figured that
Yeah.
out yet, she loves the library. She loves going through microfiche and finding and researching information. So if anybody has some other questions
Yeah.
long ago past. Send in your questions,
It was fun.
and Pat, if she has the time, we'll follow up
I'm
on
waiting
those
for a
things.
question from Paula.
Oh. Yeah, that's right. She should be paying attention.
She should be chiming in right
That's
now.
right.
Yeah, I know,
Her
right?
sister.
Kim, you got a plover piping plover update
Yes,
for
our
us?
piping plovers have departed.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
They made it to fledglings,
Yes, they made it.
and
to
now
fledglings.
they've flown off.
Yeah, well, they were pushed out a little bit, but that's a whole nother story. They dismantled the enclosure a little prematurely, but the other piping plovers that I'm filming, they're still staying at their locations, and we have a lot of one nest in particular. I don't know. Joe just left, so now it's up to me to talk about piping plovers. I can talk a lot about piping plovers, but I don't want to bore anybody. So if anybody has any questions, we can.
I don't know what
jump
else is
that.
on his list there.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Let me see
anyway,
what I can.
we
Excuse
have,
me.
I am following other nests at other locations. Our guests are from Nahant, so I'm following piping plovers in Nahant, Winthrop, Salisbury, and I'm very worried about one little family because they're doing something very unique where they're sitting on their eggs, and I'm afraid the eggs are going to boil because it's so hot out, but then they lift up their bodies and air circulates under the egg. So it's really remarkable how they're panting. The parents are panting while they're sitting on the nest, but then they're adapting. They're not, because usually they're really tight on the nest to
Right.
keep it warm, and their feathers are puffed out. But now they have this whole circulation thing going, and both parents, they take turns sitting on the nest in 20-minute intervals, 20 to half-hour intervals, and both parents are doing this.
Are they for life? They stay together for life?
They are monogamous. They will, sometimes they don't travel together. They're monogamous through a season, but other birds, like for example, this one plover, old man plover, who they documented for 17 years, he had one mate for 12 years, and he came every year to the exact same location in the Great Lakes for 12 years. Then she died, and then he had another mate for 5 years. And then he was a bird that was tagged, and so unfortunately, a stick got stuck in one of his little tags, and he lost his leg. And so you could tell it was him because he would, go on. You could see his little track on this little peg leg track on the beach. And then the year after he lost his leg, he died. So that was a little sad, but yeah. So I'm glad we don't tag birds in Massachusetts, and I think that's one of the reasons why our plovers are so successful. Because in New Jersey, if you're photographing or filming in New Jersey, you'll see like 6 tags on each of the bird's leg, which I just think is such overkill. And any kind of debris or anything like that can get stuck. And their piping plover population is dropping. Maine's population is dropping. Canada's is dropping, and ours, Massachusetts, is becoming the epicenter of the plovers.
Wow.
We have a tremendous success story in Massachusetts for our piping plovers. So yeah, so.
Kim,
here's
the other
Joe.
spots that you mentioned are the spots you mentioned, they are beaches?
They're beaches.
Are they the same situation that they could be set up in the parking lot like ours?
Oh
Or
yes. Well, like for example, like Winthrop Beach, it's right on. Like I'm trying to document them at beaches that are similar to ours.
Like
because
Revere?
like Revere, Winthrop, Salisbury, because there's no point in me documenting them at Cranes Beach because that's a very protected, wonderfully preserved, isolated area. Here at these town-type city and town beaches, it's good for us to learn from beaches that are very successful and have a similar situation to what we have. So we've been talking about, guess what, all this time. Sorry about
Plovers?
that.
Yeah, I was checking your list.
What a surprise! What a surprise talking
Sorry
about
that.
plovers.
We're there.
So, are you done with your plover talk? Or you still got more to go?
No, I'm on that.
You go, okay. So
Very good.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
there you go. So I have a couple small topics.
Who do you want this on?
It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Okay.
So one of my topics is there's a huge sale on Arctic tumblers, the double insulated tumblers. What
Yeah,
what
but
our
what our janky
what our
setup.
janky Facebook mount. We're using that as a mount right now. But I also had, so I got as gifts some Yeti tumblers, the double insulated ones that if you don't know yet, they like hold ice forever.
Right, like
You guys have you have one. Susan has a double insulated one. Jimmy has an Arctic one. There's a Oasis one right here.
I just have primitive, but I just only put water in mine.
So they're on sale. But so here's my thing. The Yeti ones that I buy, or I get as gifts, seem to get either lost or stolen
Oh.
all the time,
Or
or borrowed, borrowed in hashtag borrowed.
You can get them personalized. My husband's kept getting stolen from his office by his patients.
Yeah.
So the nurses in his office got one with his name printed on it.
Yeah,
And-
but they also wrote stolen from.
No,
so-
they
so-
haven't been stolen since.
Well, that's the
They put
move.
name on it.
That's the move then. But actually, what the real move is just to buy the knockoff ones, because the knockoff ones do 95% of the job as the Yeti ones, and you can buy for $9.99 today, and the Yeti ones are $30.
Wow.
They're $30. They do a great job, but like I'm telling you, you're better off with the no-name brand one
No-name
or the
one.
Arctic one.
Because nobody's going to
Because they don't get stolen. But the Yeti is such a stat right now, as far as you know how like Louis Vuitton handbags
Yes.
and like for men, like the status symbol right now is if you have a Yeti cooler or not. Right? Even though there's a million knockoffs, they like the guys have to have the Yeti cooler to be, and the
I
Yeti
thought it was a
hat
Weber
and the
grill
Yeti
that
visor.
was the status symbol.
So don't be a dummy. What's that?
I thought it was a Weber grill that was the ultimate status symbol.
No, because Weber grills are inexpensive.
Ah,
Yeah, no. So there you go.
If
So
you don't know this, Joey has like, how many Weber grills do you have right now?
100.
I probably have 12
And
or
he
13.
restores,
What's the most you ever
restores
had at
them
one time?
and-
I probably had up to like 22. I pared the collection back, and I got rid of a lot of the bigger ones. I moved over. Like now, my obsession is small Japanese hibachis,
Yeah,
finding and restoring them.
We should.
Oh, you should get that one, Jimmy. Can you pick that up and put it in front of the camera? It's right next to Susan.
We should
Yeah.
we should have a shout out to your Northeast Barbecue.
Yeah,
website.
you can check the bottom one, Jim. There's handles on the bottom.
Tell people about your Northeast Barbecue.
So I also have a barbecue blog. It's called northeastbarbecue.com. The camera's right there. Okay, is that in the?
Don't
Not
leave them.
really.
Don't move the
Where
camera.
you're standing.
You can
is
move
good.
the,
Okay, that's good.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Perfect.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's the latest one. So that one had a lot of surface rust, and the base was made out of wood, but it was all dried out because it was probably manufactured in the '60s.
Oh, really? Wow.
But I
Oh,
yeah,
that's super.
there's the little vent right there in the front.
You did a beautiful job on the handle.
It's probably in as good or better job than when it came out of the manufacturer because I put tongue oil on the base,
Yeah.
Good job.
and it's all clean.
Joey, did
Do
you
you
know it
use
was
it?
illegal to eat meat in Japan until the Meiji Restoration in, I believe, the 1870s?
I did not know that.
Meat was illegal. That's why they love their grills so much. It's true.
Oh, because
Wait, what?
When
That's-
Japan was closed to Western influence, with the ninjas and all that whole time, meat was illegal for a very long time in Japan. Russia was okay.
Oh, don't do that. Ralph is watching.
Ralph, hey Ralph, how
Hi,
you doing,
Ralph.
buddy?
Hi, Ralph.
All right, my other topic that I wanted to speak. Oh, here's a question. So everybody here, I imagine, has a dishwasher. Everybody have a dishwasher?
I
No
do.
dishwasher there.
No dishwasher.
No dishwasher here.
Hey.
Dishwasher,
Here's my
dishwasher.
dishwasher.
No
Okay.
dishwasher.
Hussey's the dishwasher. Okay. So here's the thing. So at the house, whenever I'm cooking, whatever I happen to use for a utensil, then
You wash as you go.
I wash as I go, but I always wash it to the point where it's really spotless,
Right, like
and I still put it in the dishwasher. But I've
yeah, you
seen
don't
some
have to do
people
that.
that put kind of dirty, the stuff that still has specks on it in the
Well,
dishwasher.
People do that.
I think it depends on your dishwasher.
Yeah, some dishwashers are made that have like a little garbage
They have a
disposal.
food disposal
Yeah,
area,
yeah.
and some don't.
Yeah. Some don't.
So what do you think? What do you think do you think more people put them in, or do you think it's weird that I clean them to the point that you could put them, just stack them, dry them, and stack them up? You think that's weird?
You may be overkill.
Yeah.
You think so?
Wasted water.
But I
Yeah.
believe
Better to wash them
if you're
too
hand
little.
washing dishes, this is a shout out to my girlfriend. I do the dishes. You need to have a lather. Everything has to have a good lather. If you're hand washing it and it rinses, and if you put it in the dishwasher, rinse all the stuff off, put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah, right.
You do both?
I do the dishes.
You do both?
I
You rinse?
either hand
Oh,
wash all the
either.
big stuff,
Okay,
and then anything that's going in the dishwasher, I rinse off,
okay.
take it all the particles off, and then put it in the dishwasher.
I don't mind not having.
I
the
just wonder if
dishwasher.
it's double, if it's kind of.
If my dress
Well, it's a
is
waste
so hot,
of
if my
water.
dress is
If your
like-
dishwasher
Yeah.
has a disposal and it has a cycle where it cleans.
Yeah, it really depends on your dishwasher.
It depends on the dishwasher.
We have a high efficiency one.
Then you do.
It takes a long time to do
Yeah.
it.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Hope to see you soon.
We'll be in there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, I love using our, good china. So,
Good, yeah.
right, and I don't want to, I don't want that to go through the dishwasher.
Right, so you hand wash it.
Yeah, we hand wash everything. Well, I should say my husband washes it, so I cook and he washes.
That's fair.
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
That's how you guys do
Your
it.
husband cooks.
Yeah. And lately my
Fantastic.
husband has been
Yeah,
wanting
I
to
get great
cook more,
meals.
but I don't want to do the dishes.
There you go, right there.
So I went to a funeral yesterday in Manchester,
Oh, you did?
and if you can, do we have a comment just now?
No, it's just Ralph watching.
Oh, okay. So I went to a funeral.
Do you want me to turn it on you?
You don't have to. If you want to, it doesn't matter. So yesterday I went to this funeral. It was at 9 a.m. It was in Manchester at this small little chapel, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
It was hotter than this room. Right now we have the fan going and we have windows open.
Right.
They had tiny little windows that didn't open all the way. And
No fan?
there was two dinky little fans in the ceiling that did nothing. And I thought, I swear to God, I thought there was going to be a couple older people drop during the funeral. It was a beautiful ceremony, other than the fact that every single person in there
Like, I felt
was
like they
waving
dropped
like the program in their face.
Which makes you hotter, I think, Jim.
It actually may, right?
No, I think it pulls you down.
Do you think so?
Yes, I do.
I don't know, but so but the priest. So I was lucky, and the reason I was lucky was Kate went to drop off my truck at Niles Beach to get a good spot
Yeah.
because we figured it was going to be mobbed at Niles Beach. So I dressed in light shorts and a short sleeve, like a golf shirt,
Yeah, polo shirt.
and I ran out of the house. I took her car because I know if she saw, knowing that I was going to a funeral, she would have forbid me to go to the funeral not wearing like a suit.
Suit, right.
And there was a lot of guys wearing suits, and they were just melting. Their faces looked like
Yeah.
it was painful. So I was like, who's gonna? But I knew that I was gonna get grief, so I got out of the house quickly.
You snuck out.
I snuck out, and but this is what I was thinking. So I got there and I saw these poor guys suffering with the suits on, and they took, some of them took their jackets off, some of them didn't. But I said, who's gonna judge you for not wearing a suit when it's 95 degrees?
The director of the Cape Ann Museum had a coat and tie on for the entire unveiling and all the speeches standing in the hot sun yesterday.
God bless him. God
God
bless him.
bless him.
But do you think
But
that
I don't think
do you think
anybody-
that the family is going to be? I can't believe Joey Shimataro came wearing
No.
a golf
I'm
shirt.
sure they
I think that, in my head, they're saying they're thankful that you came, right, to support the family and everything else. Right, they're just happy
You
that you're there.
define funeral
But that's how.
casual.
What?
You define funeral casual, you know?
That was my move.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fine.
that was my move. Anyway,
They're just happy you're there.
that's what I'm thinking.
Support.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Anyway, it's we're an hour and 13 minutes, hour and 14 minutes into the blazing heat up in our office here.
Yes.
So I'm gonna let everybody go now.
Right.
Thank you guys so much for coming,
Yeah.
Judy and Hus. Thank you, Pete. Thank you.
I'm going
Yeah.
straight to the
Susan.
cooling center provided by the city of Gloucester.
I love it. GloucesterCast 347 is in the books. Boom. Oh, I gotta push
Right.
it over here too.
Good job.